What is going on, guys? Sean Don coming back at you with the technical analysis. Here we have Tyler Williams, SDTC Online Elite member. Um, Good buddy, back in the Division 3 days. Not much else introduction is needed. This is his best rhythm throw of the year with a 16-pound hammer. So let's just take a look. I tried recording this once, tried using some new fancy tools, and ended up messing it up. So we're just going to keep it simple. Very long, relaxed, like I said, connected, good rhythm, and just easy looking throws at just a little bit under his competition PB. So let's break it down. Like I said, your winds are pretty solid, nice and long and relaxed, big, connected. A little slight extension at the low back here, not necessarily a bad thing, not necessarily a good thing. Your hips move quite a good bit in your winds. The more your hips move, the less stable it is, and the less stable it is, the less connected it is likely to be. So that any sort of movement that you have throughout the hips in the winds and entry could potentially kind of disconnect you or could hinder connection. Through this step up, it's kind of a step up and a step out, as you can see. Kind of step 45 degrees across the circle, and you come quite a bit wide. I know we talked about that, and I think it's do a decent job with it. But as I broke it down, and like I said, in my first attempt at making this video, I think you can see. So like I said, your hips move a good bit, forwards, backwards, left and right, stuff like that. A little bit more extension at the lower back and stuff like that. But the big thing is when you take this really big step up and step out in the second wind, you can see how far you really get over to the right side, or you can see how far away from the left side you get. Your body is pretty much almost over this right foot instead of over this left foot. And then as the ball comes back through 270, you sit your hip back over that left side, and then you see this left shoulder. I mean, it almost gets there. Instead of being like perfectly perpendicular to the ground. All right, let's see if I can use this fancy drawing tool again. You can see there's just a slight tilt right here from your shoulder, hip, knee, ankle. And that slight tilt is not, once again, it's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing, but I think if it was just a little bit more upright, perpendicular to the ground, I think it would set things up just a little bit better. Whereas right now, like I said, that slight tilt, you kind of have to come across. You see your left hip, it's not bad. Your right side does a really good job of going with the ball. Yeah, it doesn't quite, like I said, since you are so wide, you have to kind of push away, and you see there's a slight hip shift because that right leg isn't quite working into it. You're using your right leg to pressure over to that left side, but just not as the ball comes through zero, your right leg could be doing a little bit more, but that obviously, like, we're trying to work on that stuff. You can see you're kind of on your heel, and then you shift to your toe. This ball comes through zero, which is fine. But yeah, your right hip does a good job of going around this left hip. It's just this, once again, this slight angle in this left side makes things a little funky, and that slight tilt kind of has to make you, as you can see, your high point is right about 90 on this first turn. I literally just mentioned this to you, I think, yesterday via text message, and said try to not let the ball rise so much on this left side, because if you do that, and this also goes back to having just this slight tilt in the left side sort of axis, those two combined kind of have to make you use this left side to pull the ball around, and that's kind of what you get a little bit. That's why I think you have a tendency to get a little bit wide with this right leg. But this is one of the throws, like I said, where you really line things up and you use your right side a good amount. But yeah, that high point on the left side, and then there's just a slight tilt in the left side axis, makes you kind of have to use that left side to pull the ball around, and to not even pull the ball around, but to step around. the energy of the ball is kind of going towards, once again, where the high point is. It's kind of going on there. And to complete a full turn, you have to pull that left side out of the way and step around with the right side. Whereas if the high point was a little bit closer towards this right sector line, you could step more forwards towards the ball. You step more forward towards the ball. You have more of that sort of pendulum effect. You're going to feel the ball pull you forwards. And then the more you feel the ball pull you forwards, the more you're going to be able to lean backwards linearly against the ball as it gets approaches zero. So you have more of that pendulum motion, whereas right now you have this sort of rotational entry, first turn, stuff like that. But like I said, your right side does a good job of coming around that left hip. But I think you could also drop your left knee just a little bit more here, and then be a little bit more up and down with this right leg. Like you can see, you're still, that right foot kind of comes just around the ankle, whereas if it came more around, like piston-like, up over this left calf, once again, that would help you step forwards, and it would allow you to keep your right foot on the ground just a little bit longer. As you can see, your right foot starts to pick up probably about 75, 80 degrees. Not a big deal, but if you can get it to 90 and that right foot's still a little bit on the ground, and you come more up and over this left leg, you would be just a little bit more linear. You'd feel a little bit more pendulum, and the ball would pick up just like 1% more speed on this entry. And that would help connection and tension heading into the next turn. But moving on, so like I said, you get a little bit around. You can see you're nice and long through the upper body. Hips are a little bit back. Try to drive your right hip more towards the ball. And yeah, so the right leg just, it comes around. Got to be more up and over. Catch the ball like that's stupid. Can't even see it. It's at 180. This is a Nick Miller style first turn right here. Catches at 180, super deep. As you can see, your hips are kind of turned ahead of the ball, which isn't bad. That's a sign that once again you're kind of coming a little bit more rotational rather than staying linear and connected to the ball. Like I said, just stepping around a bit with the hips. Keep your hips a little bit more square to the ball. But yeah, you land on the ball, that right foot. Posture's not bad. Left shoulder's over this right foot. So it kind of, like I said, I think I also just mentioned this to you over the past couple days, is get that left shoulder behind that left hip. Once again, back over this left toe, heel, foot, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, you come down kind of flat-footed, and the ball of the right foot doesn't really start turning until the ball already gets to about, let's see here. I mean, you do a good job waiting for it. But when you catch that early, like I said, I think it's not necessarily a good thing, because it's like, I don't know what's going to happen from here on out, but like, we'll see. But I think when you catch that early, it's hard to wait for the ball and turn with the ball. It's not a very advantageous position, even though I know people get super hard for deep catches like that. But you know, it's not what you do, it's how you do it, and it's what happens before and after, and how you get into that position, not just the frame itself. Yeah, decent job waiting for the ball. Like I said, your right foot could turn a little bit better early on, but for the most part, your right side's connected to the ball. But then, so once again, low point is about 270. So once again, the direction, the energy of the ball is kind of, it's not quite linear through 180 and 0. It's more like 270 and 90. So when it's like that, you have to once again use that left side to pull the ball around. And that's kind of what you see here as the ball comes to its low point, and that left heel comes down. You see that left shoulder. You see the difference here. A slight tilt. Left shoulder a little bit higher than the right. Left leg extending a little bit too much. Like I said, once again, I think we've mentioned that you need to keep that left leg bent and not spike it. But that right leg's doing a better job turning, especially through here. Good job waiting for the ball. You can see you really let it pass with the head, but this, you can see the trajectory of the ball is coming. It's coming across and up diagonally rather than going around. And once again, you don't really quite have that linear pulse towards 180, and I think that's why you have the tendency to hook a lot of throws down this left sector, because if, like I said, you're using that left side to pull the ball across to get that rotational, to get the ball rotational enough to complete a turn. And like I said, that's kind of what I think causes you to shank so many throws down the left sector. So if your low point was a little bit more towards like 45 and your high point was a little bit more towards over here. I mean, it does shift to kind of get like that later on, but earlier on it'd be a much more efficient and easy throw, and the better you do that, the more you can feel your legs and hips working. Whereas right now when the high point is off to the left, your left, and the low point's off to your right, camera view right, camera view left, then it's just a little bit hard to connect with the hips, because like I said, you have to use that left shoulder to pull the ball across. The same thing. Left leg, not straightened out too much. It's pretty stable by this point, but it's just this early on. You can see your left leg's bent, and then boom, straightens out, rises up, and this left shoulder, left side in general is just a little bit higher than the right. So same thing. Pretty stable left hip. I mean, once again, right hip's going around and doing a pretty good job. But then same thing, that right leg is too low. Like I said, it comes around the ankle rather than like mid-calf. It needs to be more of a piston up and down rather than around. You can even see here, once again, you pick up kind of about 60 degrees or so. And that's because I feel like probably once you get to this point, you feel like you're kind of blocked out, because you're, once again, the direction, the energy of the ball is kind of going more towards 90 rather than more towards 180. So you can't really feel that clear, open path to the sector. So you have to step around and pull around, stuff like that. But if you watch this right leg, you can really see, so like whereas right here, you could just kind of drop that left knee forwards, drive that right hip towards the ball, and like you could put your foot down, like right there. As you can see, it just comes around a bit, just a little bit. See how you kind of swipe across to put it down rather than just, once again, step forwards, put it down. Just little subtleties that if you fixed, they would help improve your throw. And same thing here. So on the catch, you pull around, you step around just slightly. Once again, you're kind of more over this right side rather than back over this left side. Once again, this left hip. Once again, I could draw a line. Heel, hip, shoulder, just slightly tilted rather than back over this left side vertical. Then you come down, right ankle collapses a little bit, and you can see this left side start to clamp down. And same thing, this left side's doing a lot of work. Instead of this right side turning with it, like I said early on, you gotta get that right side working and calm that left side. If you feel that right side working early on in the catch, after the catch, and just the lower body too, not the upper body. I don't want you to push with your right hand. I want you to feel this right leg and hip working. If you feel those legs working, especially the right leg, in each turn, it's going to be a good throw. But yeah, just a little bit disconnection here with this left side. Right side's turning with the ball. But yeah, same thing. That left heel comes down and then spikes just a little bit. That left shoulder's high. Starting to get a little bit more up and down with this right leg. Low point more towards 45-ish before 0. Decent. See, now this is a better turn, I think. Once again, low point's more towards 45. You'd see more of that pendulum backwards. You lean your shoulders back, drive backwards. And then you're also just able to step more in the direction of the sector. Still, your hips are a little bit ahead of the ball. You're not quite as square to the ball, I think, as I'd like you to be. And that's why you still get just a little bit rotation in that step here. And just a slight step around. Once again, hips squared more towards 270 rather than back towards the ball. So square those hips up to the ball in the catch if you can. And then once again, same thing. Left side does some turning, right side doesn't until ball gets closer to 45. Left heel is going to come down. And this is where I think more left leg straightening, more left side pulling back. Just a slight bit too early. So once again, if you use this right side more, if you were able to use this right side more on the catch, you'd be able to hold this left side steadier Whereas right now this left side or this right side isn't turning, and then it starts turning. But by then that left side already has momentum and inertia going, and this left side pulls back just slightly as the ball goes left. Your hips are still forwards towards the hands, which is really good, but you just need to hold this left shoulder just a little bit more. Hold this left side a little bit more. Hold this whole left side just a bit more and use this right leg to drive the ball around it. And then, yeah, you just pick up early, 45, because once again, you're kind of pulling that left shoulder back, so you're going to have to pull around. And you see, so this is where you have this very dramatic leftward counterclockwise tilt. And this right leg gets a little bit wide because of that, because you're just like, shit, I got to pick up and put down just to catch on time. And so this is your best catch, I'd say, in terms of hips forward posture, but that left shoulder and left hip could still be more back over this left side, just a little heavy on this right side still. And, right ankle collapses again. And you're back against the ball, so like by this point, so I guess where your left heel comes down, I mean, it's not, I'd say things are lined up, shoulder, hip, knee, ankle, things are lined up. But you can see this kind of duck-footed position right here. That's because that right foot isn't turning with the ball. The right knee and right hip is, and your left leg, your legs are nice and bent as the ball comes through. But like I said, you're just heavy on this right side. Hips forwards towards ball, head nice and long and back. But you can see this left leg once again just doing too much. Right leg not doing enough. You come through the finish pretty well. So I mean, like overall, like at face value, it's a pretty good looking throw. I'm really nitpicking some of the other stuff, and yeah, I mean this. Like I said, we still got plenty to work on, which I mean is a good thing because you're throwing, you know, near PR distances with some of your training balls, and once these things click, it's going to be easy to just be tossing PRs or tossing what would be PRs. Every session, I think. All this rhythm throwing stuff is going to pay off. So, yeah. Alright, Tyler. Let me know if you have any questions. Digest this. I want you to write a 5-page essay on it and what you can do to fix it. Just kidding. If anybody out there wants a technical analysis of their own, hit me up. SeanDonnelly.biz, services page, in-depth technical analysis. I'm here to help. Happy to help. Yeah, Tyler. Gotta get that low point and high point more towards zero. Pulling the ball across just a little bit too much. Alright, but yeah, thanks for watching Sean Don. Peace and out. Until next time.